All right, before I go on, I forgot to talk about this. Um, so with your calculator, you could just plug this in and get 3 and get the answer, but you have to show work. So if this were a 4-point question and you only wrote 3, you would get 1 out of 4 points. You have to have the work going from step to step to step if you want to get 4 out of 4 points. All right, let's look at the next example. Identify the graph that represents the function g of x equals 3 to the x. So first is just the growth or decay. And so since this is bigger than 1, we know that this is going to be growth. So that means we don't care about A because this is decay. We don't care about C because this is decay. And so now we're looking at graphs B and D. So here, when my input is 0, 3 to the 0 power is equal to 1, and both graphs show that. So now let's plug in 1 to our function. 3 to the 1 is 3, so when my input's 1, my output has to be 3. So you can see that that point's not on the graph. So it's not B. So let's just double check over here. So when I input 1, my output has to be 3. So here the correct answer is D. All right, tell whether the function shows growth or decay. So here, since this is less than 1, this is going to be decay. Graph it using a table of at least 3 points. I don't think so. 5 points. So go ahead and make a table. The best table to use is going to be a -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. And so you're just going to take these values and plug them in. And so I'm actually going to make the table look like this. And so we're going to actually have our function written here. The 15 times 0.8 to the x, and then this will give us our output. That way you can see where these numbers are coming from. So 15 is 0.8 to the -2 power. All right, so you want to make sure that when you're using your calculator that when you plug it in, it looks just like what you want it to. And so 15 times the 0.8 to the -2 power gives us 23 point, since we're going to be graph this, we'll just round to the tens place, 23.4. And then go ahead and finish your table. All right, so I've completed the table, and now I'm going to graph it. So -2, my value is 23.4, which is going to be off my graph, so I'm not going to include it. And then at -1, it's 18.8. 18, that's right there, so I'll put that there. 15, 12. My graph is wrong. There's an increment of 5, 5, then it goes 4. Ugh. That's going to mess things up for you on the test, but oh well. Let's see here. 12 now, so there's 10, 11, 12. And 2 is 9.6. And so this graph is going to look like something like this. All right, so we want to figure out when it's 12, and so it looks like when x is 1, our value is 12. That's kind of a boring one. Let's not worry about 12. Worked out too perfect. I don't want perfect. So let's figure out when this thing is going to equal, let's say, 6. Okay, so if you look at your graph, we want to figure out when the output is 6. So we're going to come along here. And so it looks, using my graph, that it's about between 5 and 6. If you continue on with your table, this becomes 7.7. You plug 4 in, you get 6.1. Plug 5 in, you get 4.9. So using our table, our output's going to be 6 between 4 and 5. So using the table, which is going to be better than the graph, I would say between 4 and 5. And this is how I would answer this question if I were in algebra. But I'm not in algebra. We're in algebra 2, and we've just learned about logs. So now we're going to actually use logs to figure the exact answer out. And so my output's going to be 6, so I'm going to replace that with the 6. 15 to the 0.8x, and now this is what we're going to solve. So our first step is going to be divide both sides by 15. And this reduces to 2/5. This is 0.8x. And so now what we want to do is we have that x in the exponent, and we don't want that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take the log of both sides. And so we get the log of 2/5 is equal to, now the reason we take the log is so that this, we can use our property and put it out front, and so we get x to the log of 0.8. And so now this is just x times this log, and so we divide both sides by the log of 0.8. And so the exact answer is x equals the log of 2/5 over the log of 0.8. And since we do have a calculator, let's go ahead and evaluate that. All right, let's look how we'd put this into the calculator. The first thing I'm going to do is put in a fraction. And now I'm going to type in the log. Again, it's going to be base 10, so I don't need to type anything there. 2/5, so 2 divided by 5. Now I'm going to type in the log of 0.8. And I get, notice how it converts it and makes everything look the way it should look. Gives us 4.10628. And remember, we said the answer was between 4 and 5, and so that answer makes sense. And so the answer is, we'll just call it 4.1 for now. Approximately.